irrigation that we're discussing here today speaks to the backbone of the economy of the country and of the world, and it speaks to an issue of human rights, the access to food. Mr. Speaker, in the year 2021, it's such a shame that at times we've seen our people die out of hunger. That even when we have such great weather in this country, when you have such great soils in this country, when in some places you can just throw seeds and they just germinate and flourish and you get food, that you still have people going hungry. But Mr. Speaker, this bill comes very timely because it seeks to create this irrigation infrastructure, to have a mechanism to create investment around the irrigation sector and financing of these particular projects. Mr. Speaker, this bill proposes to set up an irrigation board. But in this, I would like to set this pause on notice. Mr. Speaker, if you do an audit of the number of boards we have in this country, there's so many of them, whether it is the ICT board, whether it's KMTC board, now we have National Irrigation Board. But we need to ask ourselves, how do they operate? When you compare their recurrent expenses, the amount of money they pay on salaries, the amount of money they allocate for their mortgages and their cars and their day-to-day expenses, how does that compare to the amount of money that goes directly to the project and to the mandates that these particular institutions are supposed to do? The Speaker was privileged to host one institution in my constituency yesterday called Bid Africa. And I was surprised that such a big institution with projects across the country has only a staffing of 8 employees, only 8. And yet, they were able to give us an ICT lab, a chemistry lab, and they've doing several other projects in Nakuru County and across the country with only a staffing of 8 people. They don't have a board. They do not have all these ranks of CEO and deputy CEO and all these positions. But they are able to do something in this country. But when it comes to government institutions, they are big on names. They are big on plans. They are big on strategic plans. But when it comes to action on the ground, to matters that matter, then you find that that it becomes lacking. And therefore, my appeal, as I support this bill, is that we're going to have an irrigation board that looks at the needs of Kenyans. And not just thinking about Galanakulalu, those big irrigation schemes, but thinking about how do we empower that farmer in Molo to farm along Molo River? How do we make sure that that farmer in Mukinyai or in Wetima can farm along Mau River? Because that's water and that is irrigation. So we do not need to spend billions of shillings on mega projects that becomes an opportunity to steal. But how about do we make these projects to go down to where the people are? Across the country, there are very many water pans. There are very many dams. But how is that water utilized? And then you'll find we'll sit here and talk about a big plan, how we are going to irrigate. And yet, the small water resources that we have around our constituencies, around our homes, are not being properly utilized. And this is water that has been freely given to us by God. Mr. Speaker, we need to have a conversation as a country about our land use. Every time you fly around the country, you'll find we are slowly becoming a concrete jungle, where we have subdivided all our lands now. Everyone owns a 50 by 100 plot where we fence and we build a house there, and we have not left any land for agriculture. And as a result, that's why we are saying there are even no jobs. That's why we are saying there is no food. Because land, agricultural land that was supposed to be used for farming is now being used to build houses. And I'm not saying it's wrong to build these houses, but how do we achieve a balance between making sure that we still have land left for us to do agriculture, but still at the same time accommodate people? I've seen in properly planned countries and properly planned states where you have people living around an estate and leaving the rest of the land for agriculture. And when that happens, you find it's even easier to provide infrastructure, such as school, such as stadia, such as electricity, social amenities for those people, because they live together as a community and they leave the rest of the land around for things like agriculture. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I need to reemphasize this, that this irrigations board needs to come down to the people, to do projects that matter to the people, not just for money to buy cars, to buy mortgages, and to fund those particular officers in these offices. And if this is done properly, COVID has shown us something. That out of all the sectors in the economy, the one sector that continued to grow across the world has been food. Because even during times of lockdown and curfew, people are still eating. And therefore, any investment in agriculture, in growing food, we are sure we can never go wrong. And if we do that, and even as we wait at how to survive past COVID, because COVID is here but not to be here with us forever, is the solution to that and for youth employment and for growing the economy is through investment in those sectors that have been proven during these testing times, that even during those times that those sectors continue to grow. And one of those sectors is agriculture. And with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to end by passing a condolence message for the loss of Honorable Victor Prengei, Honorable Senator. He's one of my constituents, and he was a great farmer. He was a great man, he was a great farmer, and you've lost a hero as a constituency and as a people of Nakuru County. Thank you.